Hello and welcome back to Buggles Kelly Station. Now, firstly, thank you to everybody who subscribed to the channel following my T-gauge diorama build. That was amazing. And I'm delighted to say that Pico have chosen my diorama as one of the finalists for the competition. So if you're coming along to the National Festival of Railway Modelling, which is on the 22nd and 23rd of November, you'll be able to see my diorama there and all of the other finalists, where the winner will be announced as well on the Sunday, so that should be great. And also at that weekend at the NEC, for some reason I've been asked to join a YouTube panel at 11 o'clock on the Sunday morning, where I'll talk about YouTube, I guess, and model railways. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, come along to the NEC and it should be good fun. Nothing controversial at all in that, I'm sure. Now, for something slightly larger in scale than the last project, we recently, this year, released our first TT120 wagon, which was very popular, and thank you to everybody who purchased one. But I realised that I don't really have a way to display it, because all the other wagons so far have been 00 and N-gauge. So I decided to build my first ever TT120 diorama. And if you are a TT120 modeller, please stick around to the end of the video, because there's a special announcement coming soon. I've got limited display space at shows, so I want to make something as small as possible while still allowing some scenic interest. I've gone with a board of 2mm ply, smaller than an A5 piece of paper. This measures approximately 16 by 12 centimetres. I'm bracing the board with 1cm strip wood, and it's held together with wood glue. You could skip the bracing on something this small, but I've found it's useful to add a bit of height to the diorama. I've added some 2mm ply to build the landform up at the back. It feels more natural to have a bit of variation in the board height, and it should help lift the track up from the rest of the boggy terrain. If you've not heard of TT120 before, it's modelling at 1:120 scale, so it comes in approximately between N-gauge and 00 gauge. If you'd like to learn more about it, I can highly recommend my friends Chris at Peachy TT120, who knows all there is to know, and the good little southern boy Sam at Emperor's Path, who's building an epic TT120 layout. Unlike Chris and Sam, I've never built a layout in TT120, so I had to get a bit of track for this. I've picked up a length of Hornby set track from my local model shop Digitrains in Lincoln. I'm used to using Pico track, so the Hornby tooling threw me off a bit. Their manufacturing process means that they have these weird strengthened sections in the middle of the track, resulting in thick sleepers where there shouldn't be. For realism, I trimmed these off and pushed the sleepers down to suit. I'd like the siding to look boggy and uncared for, and I want to add some puddles. Now, puddles are rarely seen on model railways, but they're easy to make and they're really quite effective. I start by spraying a sheet of acetate with Humbrol's dark earth brown acrylic. When dry, I cut out small pieces and glue them down shiny side upwards. Next, I take some terracotta coloured milliput, which is an epoxy putty, and mix it together. If you find you're sensitive to epoxy, you might want to wear gloves when doing this, but my hands are made of asbestos, so it doesn't really bother me now. When mixed together, push the milliput around the edges of the puddles. Push it gently and it'll break up as if it's the muddy edge of the puddle. Look at photos of real puddles to see how natural and unevenly shaped they can be. I also use the milliput to create an uneven terrain. I push the track down into the milliput and it'll set rock solid. For this diorama, I've decided to add a run-down sleeper-built buffer stop, one that looks like it could fall apart when the next wagon crashes into it. I've not found any run-down enough that I like, so I've decided to design my own in Tinkercad and printed it in resin. I painted the base colour of the buffer stop with Humbrol Dark Earth, and when dry, I dry brushed on some Humbrol Khaki Drill Matte, which has a light buff colour. Around the bottom, I paint some Humbrol olive green to indicate the damp conditions, and then went over the whole thing again with a Humbrol light grey. This really highlights the details in the 3D resin print. I then covered it with an acrylic black wash, which is 1 part black paint to 10 parts water. This fills in all the gaps and further brings out the detail. These buffer stops are now available on my website too, in all scales from N gauge up to O gauge. I pushed some new plast modelling clay inside the buffer stop, deciding to half fill it. I like to think this stop has gradually been collapsing over the years, with most of the ballast spilling out. I dropped some matte Mod Podge glue onto the clay and sprinkled on true to scale's ballast, shaking off the excess. The next day, when the milliput had dried, I masked off the puddles using some modelling clay, took the diorama outside and sprayed the whole piece with Humbrol Dark Earth. While we're watching this dry, I'd just like to thank my patrons for their ongoing support. If you'd like to become a patron, you can find out how in the link below. When this had dried, I peeled the mask away. Using a Humbrol khaki drill mat on a very dry brush, I covered the track sleepers in order to bring out the wood grain. I've painted the rail sides with Vallejo rust, adding it onto the sleeper chairs too. I scraped the rust paint away from the top of the rails, but left it towards the end of the siding where it would naturally have been untouched by wheels. Next, I painted the milliput around the edge of the puddles using the same dark earth colour. Then I decided the rails looked a bit too shiny, so I went over with Vallejo light rust in places too. I could now glue the buffer stop in place using super glue. The next job is ballasting. Lots of people hate this job, but I actually quite enjoy it, at least on a tiny siding like this. I apply true to scale's ballast using a teaspoon and a soft brush. It's not a main line, so it doesn't need to be too neat, but I try to knock it off the sleepers. I mask off the puddles for the next step so that the isopropyl alcohol doesn't cloud up the acetate sheet, and I spray the track with IPA. Using a pipette, I fix the ballast in place using Woodland Scenic's Scenic Cement. You could also use a mix of 50-50 Mod Podge and water with a drop of washing up liquid, but this is handy as it comes pre-mixed. I also put some in the buffer stop itself. This could then be left to dry fully. After applying some neat Mod Podge, I used true to scale's universal ground cover wherever needed. I've not added glue around the puddles as I want this to look muddy. Using a brush I'm prepared to throw away afterwards, I add some Humbrol gloss coat over the puddles and surrounding mud. Don't be afraid to go over some of the ground cover too. This will set in a couple of hours. When the puddles had set, I added neat Mod Podge onto the universal ground cover wherever I want grass to grow. I've added a bit to the buffer stop bunker too, and between the rails to show that this siding really is overgrown. Next, I'm adding Warworld Scenic's static grass to the glue. This is their 2mm dead grass. 2mm in 1:120 scale is about 25cm long in real life. I also added longer 4mm grass in areas, building up some variation in height and colour. These bushes are by War Painter, and the clump foliage is by Woodland Scenics. The height variation is really helped by the milliput we used earlier too. I covered the clump foliage with Scenic Cement and sprinkled on leaves by Tree Mendus, before covering everything with Scenic Cement to lock it down. The wagon now looks really too clean compared to the diorama, so we need to make it dirty. I start by dry brushing some Vallejo off-white on all of the woodwork to simulate some wear on the wooden planks. This also brings out the detail on the metalwork. I then spray the wagon with a layer of matte varnish and move on to weathering powders. These are DCC Concepts powders in black, pale grey, brown rust and rich old rust. I apply them using a soft makeup brush, adding grey and black to the wagon's sides and interior, and the rust colours to the wheels and the underside. A bit of water on a cotton bud pulls some of the powder away, particularly where the wagon's details may have been cleaned. I add some Mod Podge into the interior and sprinkle on some true to scale coal. Then I finish it with more black weathering powder to simulate coal dust. My TT120 Diorama is now finished. So, thanks for watching. The diorama will be on display on the Buggleskelly station stand at all upcoming events. Of course, the NEC later this month, and then in December, on the 6th of December, we're at the Rail Stuff Open Day at Uttoxeter, and then we'll be at our final show of the year for the 13th and 14th of December, the Christmas Model Railway Show at Manchester. So you'll be able to see it there. Now, I promised a special announcement for TT120 modelers, and a couple of weeks ago I revealed that we'll be doing a 00 and an N scale new range, and one of those wagons, AW Drying Company, I've decided to release in TT120 as well. So these are going to be made by Pico for us, who made the Buggleskelly wagon as well, and they're going to be released in, I think, the second quarter of 2026 is when Pico have said, so around Easter time. But if you want one, please pre-order soon, because there will be limited numbers of these. And of course there are a few of the Buggleskelly wagons left as well, and the new buffer stop, as you saw in the video. So yeah, please take a look at the website. But that's it really. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found it useful, please share the video, and please feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks, bye.